Good morning, children. Let's continue with the lesson En route to America. Now, this lesson was written by Nayanthara Saigal, and I think you remember what we had done the previous session. Okay, the writer and her sister were off to America. Okay, and they had already boarded the ship. Okay, and this was the first time that they were going to America. Okay, and of course, they did not find any sort of recreation on the ship. Okay, so we are done till there. Let's continue. Lekha and I found that we were to share our cabin with two elderly missionary ladies going home on furlough. Sharing it would not have mattered if it had not been a miniature cabin originally meant for two. Okay, so Lekha and the writer had to share the cabin with two elderly missionary ladies, okay, who were going home. Okay, so on a follow. Okay, so sharing it now, if the room was actually a big one, they could have easily accommodated, but here they find it was a very small cabin. Sharing it would not have mattered if it had not been a miniature cabin originally meant for two. It could scarcely accommodate the four bunks that had been crowded into it. Okay, so this room was so small that it was very difficult to accommodate even the four bunks. Okay, all the four, that is the two elderly ladies and Lekha and the writer. Okay, let alone the two extra people. The romance of the voyage soon began to fade away due to its crowdedness. Okay, so whatever they had thought about the journey, okay, they would have thought about the excitement that they would be having on the voyage, etc., soon began to fade away just because of the crowdedness, that is the cabin, which was too small to accommodate the four of them. In the beginning, I could not get used to the motion of the ship. Okay, so this is the first time that both of them were traveling abroad. Okay, so they found it very difficult. Okay, they had to get used to the movement of the ship and felt sick and dizzy. Okay, that is, they became sick, seasickness, that is. Okay, and they found themselves to they began to get dizzy also. The one tiny pothole in our cabin framed a gray tossing sea. Okay, so on the side of the ship, okay, there is a window, okay, a round window. Okay, so the one tiny pothole in our cabin framed a gray tossing sea, and a roll from side to side on my bunk, powerless against the ship's heaving rhythm. Okay, so they still had to get used to the motion of the ship. One night I rolled right off the bunk onto the floor, much to my annoyance and Lekha's uncontrolled hilarity. Okay, so she had to get, she, rolled, the writer rolled from side to side on the bunk because of the ship's movement. Okay, and one night she rolled off the bunk, okay, onto the floor. And of course, Lekha found it very, very amusing. Okay, she had, could be, she would have laughed to her heart's content. Okay, the airless cabin reeked of a stale odor. Okay, so there was something very, very unpleasant. The smell inside the cabin was, very, very unpleasant. Yet, if I went to the deck for fresh air, there was a zigzag ocean in full view to taunt me. Okay, so if at all the writer thought of moving to the deck to get some fresh air, again, the full view of the ocean was there to taunt her. When I did go on the deck, I had to muster all my self control and try to think of the ocean in poetical terms instead of as the unleashed monster it appeared to be. Okay, so when she did muster all her courage to move on to the deck and move and look into the wide sea, it, you know, she had to think of it in some very poetical terms. Okay, um, but Lekha gave me moral support, ensured that I'd not fall sick during the trip. But she had got all the moral support from her sister, and Lekha saw to it that the writer didn't get sick during the trip. And when I started enjoying the trip, I also started enjoying the food. Later, of course, the writer got used to the, ship, and she got used to the movement, the motion of the ship, and she also began liking the food. We ate Navy style out of aluminium trays divided into sections. We had to queue up for our meals, which were doled out in the cafeteria manner. Okay, so they ate their food out of, the aluminium trays, which were divided into sections. Okay, where you had sections for, the various food items, and they also had to queue up for their meals. The strong American coffee we drank from the white china cups tasted wonderful, as did the cherry pie, ice cream, and other delicious American dishes that were our daily fare. So soon the writer as well as Lekha started enjoying the food in the ship. Okay, there was coffee which were they drank out of the white china cups, and it simply tasted wonderful. And there was also the cherry pie, ice cream, as well as other American dishes which they started enjoying. Our newfound friends of the ship were of different nationalities. Okay, there were people of different nationalities on the ship. There was a tall, attractive Maori army officer from whom we learned about New Zealand and its people. Okay, so about New Zealand as well as the people, the author as well as Lekha came to know from an attractive Maori army officer. And then there was a weary Englishman who went about hunched in a dilapidated brown raincoat, complaining about the weather. Then the Englishman, okay, so he was always constantly, say, complaining about the weather. And with him, they argued with him about the war, the future of India, and the destiny of the British Empire. Okay, so with the Englishmen, they had long arguments about the war, the future of India, as well as destiny of the British Empire. There was a towering blonde Dutch officer of the Royal Netherlands Navy in his glamorous blue and gold uniform, whose rumbling laughter and guttural voice enlivened our long evenings. Okay, so apart from the army officer from New Zealand as well as the Englishman, there was also a blonde Dutch officer who belonged to the Royal Netherlands Navy. Okay, and his laughter was such that it would enliven their long evenings. Okay, then there was also a shy, thoughtful young Chinese student who did not talk much but gazed soulfully at Lekha across the table where we gathered every day. Then, apart from that, there was also a very shy, thoughtful Chinese student. And he did not talk much, okay? But he used to gaze soulfully at Lekha across the table, okay? Altogether, there were 11 different nationalities on board, a wide assortment of men and women whom the war had thrown together, most of them friendly and companionable. Okay, so on the whole, we find there were 11 different people from 11 different nations on the boat. And of course, the war had brought them together, and most of them were friendly and companionable. Friendly. Okay, most of them were quite, very, very friendly and also companionable. Okay. Now, here's a comprehension passage for you. Okay. We'll start from our newfound friends to companionable. Okay. So, we are taking from our newfound friends to companionable. Okay. Okay. Now, your first sentence, your question is, from whom did Lekha and the writer learn about New Zealand? Okay. So your answer is, there was a tall, attractive Maori army officer from whom we learned about New Zealand and his people. Okay. So Lekha and the writer learned about New Zealand from a tall, attractive Maori army officer. What did the writer and his sister argue with the Englishman? Okay, so you have the answer here. A weary Englishman who went about hunched in a dilapidated brown raincoat, complaining about the weather. We argued with him about the war, the future of India, and the destiny of the British Empire. Okay, so what did the writer and her sister argue with the Englishman? The writer and her sister argued with the Englishman about the war, the future of India, and the destiny of the British Empire, who belonged to the Royal Netherlands Navy. So, we have the answer here. Okay, there was um, there was a towering, blonde Dutch officer of the Royal Netherlands Navy. Okay, so who belonged to the Royal Netherlands Navy? A towering, blonde Dutch officer belonged to the Royal Netherlands Navy. Okay, next one. Give the synonyms of the following words from the passage. Okay, I've given you two words here. You're going to find the synonym of these from the passage. State. Okay, state. We have the synonym from the passages. Gazed. The second one is brightened. From the passage, the synonym for brightened is enlivened. Okay, you have it here. Okay, all right, enlivened. Now, next, fifth one. We argued with him about the war. Pick out the verb and state its tense. So what's the verb here, children? The verb is argued. Okay, so what's the tense of this word? Argued. The tense is argued is in the past tense. Okay, children? So we'll continue with this lesson in the next session. Till then, thank you.